What's that one embarrassing moment that keeps coming back to haunt you? Nsfw.
When I was in first grade, I had just recently moved to Oklahoma. My class was doing a showcase for the school assembly in 2 weeks. We were going to do some line dancing, and I was paired up with a boy I really liked for part of the routine. I practiced like a maniac in an attempt to assimilate to my new country classmates' way of life. I guess I had forgotten to give a note to my parents saying that they wanted us to wear cowboy boots for the performance. I showed up to the showcase in flip-flops, the partner section starts happening, and I'm kicking my legs like I'm a rocket. My flip-flop flies off into the crowd and hits an older kid in the face. I immediately stop in the middle, but the people behind me didn't get the memo that I launched a projectile into the crowd. The person behind me runs into me and falls into the crowd. This has a domino effect and causes a mini pileup of 7-year-olds. I hobble off the stage into the bathroom with only one flip-flop. I cried while I waited for my teacher to give me back my shoe.
I was starting out as a teacher in this English course, and one day I had bad diarrhea in the short break between 2 classes. All of my colleagues were gathered in the teacher's room, waiting for the next class to start. I entered the bathroom connected to the room to relieve myself. As I was finished, I was embarrassed to open the door to the room and let everybody smell the reminiscent odor. So, I had the brilliant idea of opening the glass window of the bathroom to let the wind circulate a little before opening the door. The window was stuck, and as I forced it, it fell, breaking into a million pieces on the floor. Everybody heard the noise and knocked on the door. I had to open it, and they not only smelled the horrible diarrhea but also figured out my attempt to open the window to get rid of it. Laugh out loudly. It was so humiliating.
I was taking a bus home from the beach years ago. When I got close to my stop, I walked to the front of the bus, so I would be ready to get off. I was wearing a denim skirt that was a bit loose, but I had been wearing it all day without a problem. Well, the denim had gotten a little wet at the beach, which made it heavier, and it sort of stretched out a bit while I sat during this 2-hour bus ride. So, as I'm standing in the front of this crowded bus, with my hands full of my belongings, I can feel my skirt begin to slide down. I didn't have any hands free to grab it and nothing to lean against to hold it up, so it fell all the way to the floor. The passengers around me just stared as if they were in shock. This was before everyone glued to their phone days. I stood there in my granny panties, wanting to cry, but I started laughing like a maniac instead. I must have looked like a total nutjob. I stopped wearing skirts after that. Dresses are safer. When I was 13, I got my first bikini swimsuit. The top didn't have a strap on the neck or anything but just stretched across my chest. I went swimming one day with my cousins while on vacation at my grandmother's house. I swam all day long, and the bikini stayed in place just as it should. We packed up, and I threw on a t-shirt over my swimsuit for the ride home. Grandma did not go swimming with us, and was at home eating popcorn at her table when we came in. There were uncles, aunts, and older cousins at the table with her. When she saw me in my t-shirt, she jokingly asked if that was all I was wearing. I said nope and proudly pulled my t-shirt over my entire chest to show her I had on a swimsuit. I watched as her face changed to shock, and she choked on her popcorn. I looked down, and what do you know? My freaking top had slid beneath my boobs, exposing them, and making them stick sort of straight out because the top was right under them. Everyone at the table just died laughing, all with red faces, putting their heads down and pounding the table howling with laughter. So yeah, I flashed my grandma and some relatives with my boobs.
I have multiple memories that come back to me when I'm working out. It kinda ruins the workout, lol. The one memory that comes back to me the most is, when I was in middle school, a group of girls that disliked me got a hold of my phone number and texted me as my crush. We texted all day after school, and she wanted to hang out with me, but I told her I can't because of homework or something dumb. So, we planned that we hang out the next day, and we would meet at the park. The next day I start to get ready, and I go to the park. I waited for 3 hours, and she never showed up. I messaged her, and I wasn't getting a response, so I just ended up going home, disappointed, and mad at myself. When I go back to school, the group of girls came up to me and said, "Has a nice date?" And I was shocked, wondering how they knew, and then they showed me pictures they took of me just sitting on the bench alone and making fun of how stupid I look.
It had to be nerves and strong coffee an hour or so before a date giving me terrible gas on the date about 5 years ago. I was fine until after we drove to the local public park, then to take a long walk and get to know each other better before a relaxed mid-evening dinner at a nearby Asian restaurant. I can laugh about it now, but at the time, the gas was really embarrassing, and I prayed that said date would have no idea that I couldn't suppress it, no matter how hard I tried. At least it was silent, but he figured out what was going on fairly quickly and asked if I had bad gas. I was embarrassed and apologized profusely, as I had no way of trying to get out of it after that. I also felt terrible, but he dealt with it very well. We ended up laughing about it for the next hour after that since both of us were nervous about the date, and we were simply enjoying each other's company already, too, to boot. Both of us also had somewhat crude senses of humor, so our shared senses of humor did a lot of good in terms of helping us overcome the nerves. That date ended up being one of the funniest and most enjoyable I had with him, all told. He has a heart of gold, even though the relationship didn't work out in the long run.
Just started dating this girl. She's half Korean. I go to her parents' Korean church. The whole way there, they explained how I was going to be greeted by the pastor, and I was supposed to bow and be as respectful as possible. Well, seeing that he was Korean, he had quite the accent. He greeted those in front of me, "Welcome, welcome." My dumbass thought he was saying, "Where from?" So, in front of the church and my girlfriend's parents of whom I just had met, I got up and yelled, "Nick Purvis, Bowie, Maryland." He looked extremely confused, didn't bow, just stared at me, and let's just say her parents weren't super hyped.
Once in middle school, I was invited to an indoor blow-up inflatable playground because I had completed the 1 million pages challenge. One of the blow-up inflatable stations was a Velcro wall where you put on a Velcro jumpsuit, and then a bungee cord flings you back really fast. With my boyfriend at the time watching, I got hooked up. However, instead of swinging me up and backward, it flung me down and back, causing me to land with my head between my legs, upside down, the weight of my body on my neck, with my whole ass hanging out. I opened my eyes while I was still upside down with my head still between my legs and saw his eyes wide with horror. He just walked away like he didn't know me, then broke up with me later the same day. In 3rd grade, my class walked to the public library down the street from the elementary school. I was dying to use the bathroom. The restroom was just a room with one toilet. My best friend decided to go along too and decided she would go to the bathroom first because she had to take a poo. I could not hold it and decided to climb up on the sink attached to the wall to pee. Unfortunately, I slipped and fell, pissing all over myself and the floor. I had to walk back to the school with wet pants and my friend's jacket tied around my waist. Lending me her jacket was the least she could do, all things considered. I was then sent to the Family Resource Center to get shorts to wear for the rest of the day. They were by far the ugliest things I had ever seen. To this day, I cannot go to the library without thinking about this incident. In retrospect, it is a good thing I was unable to climb on the sink because I do not know how I would have explained it had it ripped off the wall.
Farted in class age 10, wasn't a problem for me as I didn't care until my classmate behind me, we were all sitting on the floor, goes yikes, who farted? People laughed. I still didn't care at this point and proudly owned up for a laugh. My prick of a teacher casually says, "Anon, if you want to fart, raise your hand and leave the room." I was very confused, and everyone thought it was hilarious. I made it worse by innocently adding, "My dad says it's my breakfast, this is where the real problem came from." I became known as the kid with bad farts. I tried to turn the tables on them and threatened to have the same meal for breakfast and produce the devil's breath. These threats worked in my favor. Whenever I see my best friend in school, I touch her butt like greetings to each other. We've been since we were kids, so it's normal to do things like that. One time, I thought she was the girl I saw walking to the cafeteria, so I ran to her and grabbed her butt. The girl gasped, turned around, and gave me a slap. The next thing I knew, I was in the principal's office explaining what happened. A lot of people saw us, including my homeroom advisor. So, whenever I'm in public and saw someone with the same back as my best friend, I remember that moment. I was working in a retail store when I was around 19. I was standing behind the counter at the cash register when a girl walked in, thought I was really cute, and kept talking to me for about 45 minutes. We chatted, then she asked me for my number, said that we should go out. She said, "Can I hug you?" I said, sure, let me just come around the counter. I went around the counter, and I stepped down from the platform, and when I came around, she was about 3 inches taller than me and said, "Oh my god, you're so short." Nope, and walked out of the store. I never felt so embarrassed in my life. I was so crushed, and that was the first time I developed a complex about my height. I am 43 now, but that stayed with me until this day. I cringe when I think about it. So, I was like 14 or 15 at a swim meet. I swam a lot. And one of the older guys, who is like the comical dude of the older kids, comes up to our tent, and I had my back turned. He says, "Hi everyone, how's it going?" And I somewhat but not clearly jokingly say, "Oh, shut up." Then I turn to face him and realize I've just told my other teammate's father, a prominent judge in the city I lived in, to shut up. To make it worse, I apologized profusely but didn't explain that I thought he was someone else. Haunts me to this day. So, I was interviewing for a job in the bio industry early on in my career, and it was a panel interview with about 10 people. They asked me what would set me apart from other candidates, so I went into the normal talk about being a fast learner and easily cross-training in multiple areas. As soon as I said that, one of the guys laughed, and a few jaws dropped, and I quickly realized that instead of saying cross-training, I said cross-dressing. What sets me apart from other candidates? Cross-dressing. I did not get the job. Changing from work clothes to driving clothes at a large gas station chain in Texas, Bookies. They are known to have the best gas station bathrooms in Texas. When you lock the door, a red light shows up, so nobody bothers you, and the restrooms are always spotless. I must have forgotten to lock the door, and an old man opened the door to see me with my pants at my ankles like a deer in headlights. I won't make that mistake again. I was walking out of a coffee/chocolate shop in NYC and saw a tester piece of chocolate on the counter. I grabbed it and heard the woman ordering yell, "Hey, that's mine." And realized it was the woman's order. I offered to buy her a new piece and apologized profusely, but she just looked at me like I was the worst person in the world and refused.
I was 16, casually taking a shower. My mom opened the door, thinking there was no one. She screamed like she saw something scary. Turns out I had forgotten to lock the door. And I was sitting on the floor, giving my dolls a shower. I never did that. I just thought I should give my old dolls a shower on that very exact day. And that's the day I forgot to lock the door while I was taking a shower.
7th grade, truth or dare. I was dared to ask out a girl in our friend group that I had a huge crush on. It would be my first date ever. Totally psyched myself up, planned it out, and was going to ask her later at school. Somehow or another, she heard about it before I even had the chance, and she goes, "Please, please, please don't ask me out." I remember that moment a lot more than I'd like. Once when I was 10 or 11, I was at the water park with my family. I really wanted to go on the new wave rider, which was basically a ramp with water shooting upwards that you would boogie board on. Cue my turn on the ride, the water catches my bathing suit bottoms, rips them off, and shoots them up to the very top of the ride. The cutest lifeguard I had ever seen tried to help me. I was crying, my mom was there, the horrified faces of my fellow preteens lives with me forever. Went to the gym and felt the urge to poo, probably due to the pre-workout. Did my business, cleaned up and proceeded to run my best mile ever on the treadmill. I noticed I was getting many stares and shrugged it off until I noticed some toilet paper on the ground. That's weird, I thought. Turns out I had a bunch of toilet paper in my shorts the whole time. Needless to say, I moved to a different country and started a new life.